Vanchakalpatarupyasya kripasindhubheva patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. For me, every week we can have such devotees visiting Radhadesh. Hare Bol. See, brings so much life. Chant the names of Krishna. Hare Krsna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Hare. Without the blessings of Mother Rupa Manjari, it's very difficult to say something, so I got blessed. Actually, it's said there are 4 kinds of offenses that we can make towards devotees. The first, most grievous offense is to physically attack a devotee. You get so upset with another devotee that you start hitting and beating that devotee. That's a mad elephant destroying the garden of bhakti, for sure. The second offense that we can make is a little bit more subtle, is with your words. But words can be sharper than swords, right? Your words can be even more painful than a sword. So, therefore, Hare Krishna. Bhagavad Gita says that speech in the mode of goodness is pleasing, beneficial, kind. Especially in the association with devotees, you have to speak encouraging words, pleasing words, and not speak harshly towards the devotees or about devotees. It's called gossip. So that's also an offense. And the third offense, if I remember correctly, is to avoid the devotees or just ignore the devotee, which can even be more painful than words. You have that experience that a certain devotee is just completely ignoring you? It feels very painful. Or that we consciously or unconsciously ignore a particular devotee because that devotee said one day something to me and it was really offensive, so I ignore her. I don't speak anymore to this devotee, which is also an offense. And the fourth one is even more subtle, and that's difficult to always practice, is to not feel happy when devotees arrive. We should always be very joyful when devotees visit Radhadesh Dham. Sometimes while serving prasadam, you think, okay, the line is almost over, now it's time for my enjoyment. And then suddenly you see like 30, 40 Indian guests coming for prasadam, and it's like, they destroyed my sense gratification. There will be nothing left, no more paneer in the sabji left. There goes my dreams of the Sunday enjoyment. Why are they coming? Why didn't they phone? So this is also an offense. So to use violence with physical violence, verbal violence, ignoring devotees, and to not feel happy when devotees arrive, these are the 4 offenses. But I think we were all very happy to have these emirate devotees here in Radhadesh because they were so careful in their dealings, so respectful. They even cooked their own prasadam in their little van. Didn't want to bother the devotees here. So can learn a lot from these souls about etiquette and culture. So we feel very blessed with their presence here. We feel sad that they are leaving Radhadesh. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Bolo. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Prajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Prajajanaranjana Yamunatira Manachari Yamunatira Manachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Rajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Rajajanaranjana Yamunatira Manachari Yamunatira Manachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtottara Satasri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Granta Garaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Go Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishna Srimate Lokanath Swami Name. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishna Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namne. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Sunnavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, chapter number 72, which is entitled, anyone? The slaying of the demon called Jarasandha. And we are reading text number 18 and 19. And 19 is on the board. So then I will read first text number 18. Rajan Vijjatihin Praptan Artino Duramagatan Tanna Prayacha Badram Te Tatvayam Kamayamahe. Translation. Krishna, Arjuna and Bhima said, we don't know who, huh? They spoke simultaneously all together, or one after the other. That is not mentioned. O King, King Jarasandha, know us to be needy guests who have come to you from afar. We wish all good unto you. And now the question. It's a simple question. Yatvayam kamayama he. Please grant us whatever we desire. So humble, Krishna, Arjuna and Bhima, who were dressed as brahmanas, so they were cheating. They were complimenting. They were duplicitous. They were greedy. So how is that the Supreme Lord and his two devotees, Arjuna and Bhima, were such duplicitous personalities trying to cheat Jarasandha? O King, know us to be needy guests who have come to you from afar. We wish all good unto you, right? Yes. Please grant us whatever we desire. And then text number 20. Please repeat. Kim. What? Dumarsham. Intolerable. Titikshanam. For the patient. Kim. What? Akaryam. Impossible to do. Asadubihi. for the impious. Kim, what? Nadeyam, impossible to give away. Vadanyanam, for the generous. Kaha, who? Para, separate. Sama, equal. Darshinam, for those whose vision. Kim durmarsham titikshanam. Kim dumarsham titikshunam. Kim akaryam asadubihi. Kim akaryam asadubihi. Kim nadeyam vadanyanam. Kim nadeyam vadanyanam. Kapara samadarshinam. Kapara samadarshinam. Kim durmarsham titikshunam. Kim akayam asadubihi. Kim nadeyam vadanyanam. Kapara samadarshinam. Prabhus.
Kim dumarsham titikshunam. Kim akayam asadubihi. Kim nadeyam vadanyanam. Kaparaha samadarshinam.
Kapara samadarshinam. Kim dumarsham titikshunam. Kim akayam asadubihi. Kim nadeyam vadanyanam. Kapara samadarshinam. Kim dumarsham titikshunam. Kim akayam asadubihi. Kim nadeyam vadanyanam. Kapara samadarshinam. Mataji's, please. Kim dumarsham titikshunam. Kim akaryam asadubihi. Kim nadeyam vadanyanam. Kapara samadarshinam. Kapara samadarshinam. Kim dumarsham titikshunam. Kim akaryam asadubihi. Kim nadeyam vadanyanam. Kapara samadarshinam. Thank you. Translation and purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. What can the tolerant not bear? What will the wicked not do? What will the generous not give in charity? And who will those of equal vision see as an outsider? Whose words were these? Krishna, Bhima, and Arjuna. The three of them, they mentioned this to Jarasandha after asking, Yat Vayam Kamayama, hey, you give us whatever we desire. And then they give this verse. What can the tolerant not bear? Please. What can the tolerant not bear? What will the wicked not do? What will the generous not give in charity?
What will the generous not give in charity?
And who will those of equal vision see as an outsider? And who will those of equal vision see as an outsider? Purport. In the previous verse, Lord Krishna and the two Pandava brothers, Bhima and Arjuna, requested Jarasandha to grant them whatever they asked of him. Here they explain why there is no need for them to specify their desire. The Acharyas comment on this verse as follows. Jarasandha might be thinking, what if you request my son, from whom separation would be intolerable? To this possible objection, Krishna and the Pandavas reply, for a tolerant person, nothing is intolerable. Similarly, Jarasandha could object, what if you ask me to give my body or my precious jewels and other ornaments, which are meant to be given to my sons, not to ordinary beggars? To this they reply, for the generous, what is not to be donated in charity? In other words, everything is to be given. Jarasandha might also object that he could be giving charity to his enemies. So that is his objection, to give charity to enemies, that you should not do. But to this his guests counter with the statement, Ka para samadarshinam, for those with equal vision, who is a stranger? Thus Sri Krishna and the Pandavas encouraged Jarasandha to simply agree to grant their request without further discussion. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshuru Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamaya Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Satvetam Savadutam Parijana Saita Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishikam Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jigatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaniswari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarupyascha Kripa Sindhupya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Katanchana Smriti Yasmin Tushkaram Sukaram Bhavet Vismrite Viparitum Shat Sri Chaitanya Namamitam. This verse that I just quoted is a verse from Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, who, upon starting writing the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, felt extremely unqualified to speak about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's charita, his activities, his characteristics, his pastimes. So he prayed to Lord Chaitanya, Katanchana Smrite Yasmin, when I remember you, Dushkaram, Sukaram, Bhavet. Whatever is very difficult becomes very easy. And Vismrite Viparitum Shat, not remembering you, the opposite is true, something that is very easy becomes very, very difficult. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Namamitam. So this morning I was very relaxed when I entered the temple room, thinking it will be a wonderful day, and Tulsi Priya Mataji will give class, everything will be very nice. And then Rohini Nandana Prabhu mentioned that Tulsi Priya is not in Radhadesh. Now what to do? Then you have to, in my role, you have to step in. So it's very difficult to give a lecture unprepared. But with the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, something that is very difficult, dushkaram, becomes very easy, and with the mercy and the well wishes of all the assembled Vaishnavas, we can try to share a few points that are linked to this purport of Srila Prabhupada's disciples. So the word Kim. Anyone remembers what Kim means? It's what? Yes. Ayinanda Tanuja Kinkaram. 5th verse of the Sikshastaka also gives this word Kim. Kinkara. Srila Prabhupada sometimes translates the word Kinkara as slave. Ayinanda Tanuja Kinkaram. Oh, my Lord, please make me your slave. Nanda Tanuja Kinkaram, the darling of Nanda. Please make me your servant. So Kinkara, many times we hear about this word Kinkara, being a slave or servant of Krishna. But actually Sanskrit is very nice. Kinkara means, Kim means what, and Kara means do. What shall I do? Which is a perfect definition of a servant, is what can I do for you? So Kinkar is a servant, somebody who wants to do something. Also in Gita, a chapter starts with Kim tat brahma kim adhyatmam kim karma purushottanam. So Kim, what is Brahma? What is the self? What is this material cosmic manifestation? Who are the demigods? So Kim. It's all the time what? It's a question. So, very nicely mentioned by Krishna and the Pandavas, is Kim dur marsham titikshunam. What is intolerable for a person who is tolerant? In other words, anticipating on the mindset of Jarasandha, it will be intolerable if you ask something from me that is very dear to me and you take it away from my kingdom. It's impossible to tolerate. And immediately Krishna anticipates by saying, what is intolerable for a person who is tolerant? So this tolerance, Xantir or Titikshava, you see this here, Titikshunam. So Titikshava or Xantir is used a lot, and actually the first instruction in the Bhagavad Gita is related to tolerance. When Krishna gives some hint of the soul, Dehino asmin yata dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara, tata deha antara praptir dhiras tatra muyati. One of the most basic and most famous verses of Bhagavad Gita gives us the sambandha of the soul. Dehino. Dehino means, anyone? The embodied. You have Deha, which is the body, and Dehino, one who lives in the body. So the one who lives in the body goes through Kaumaram, Yauvanam, Jara. He goes through 3 phases. Kaumaram, is Kumar stage, which is Mahendrapur, 5 years old. So Kaumaram, somebody, very young boy or girl. Then Yauvanam, I think it's 16 years. And Jara, old age. So Krishna says the embodied soul passes in this life from Kumara stage, 5 years old, to adolescence, 16 years old, and gradually to old age. Similarly, Deha Antara. Deha Anta. Everybody can understand it. The end of the Deha. At the end of the Deha, at the end of the body, which is called death, Prapti, you get another body. Dhiras tatra namuyati. So a dhira, a person who is sober, who's tolerant, is namuyati, is not bewildered by this small change. Just like you have a car and then the car breaks down, you buy a new car. So one who is a bit sober is not making a whole big thing out of this car change. Right? So if you change your body, you get a new body. For somebody who is tolerant, who is sober, this is very easy to tolerate. Then, that is the end of the life. If you want to be sober at the end of your life, or tolerant at the end of your life, then Krishna gives the Abhideya verse, which is the practice. Matra sparshas tukonteya sitoshna sukha dukkama. Agama apayino nijas tam stitikshasva. Tam stitikshasva bharata. So the appearance and disappearance of happiness and distress in this life. Now Krishna doesn't talk about death, he speaks about the life. So just like happiness appears and distress appears, it is similar to summer and winter season. When it's summer, we have to tolerate, and if it's winter, we have to also tolerate. What do we tolerate in the summer? Sometimes extremely hot, you are extremely thirsty, you are sweating, and in the summer you have mosquitoes, and flies, and wasps, and then you think, oh my God, I wish it was winter. Then I can have good sleep without mosquitoes, and without wasps, and without flies. And then it's winter, and everybody starts complaining, oh, the winter is so long. So much longing for the spring. When will it be spring? So Prabhupada, he writes in the purport of this verse that we have to tolerate non-permanent changes in this material world. And he gives a very nice purport, which is very famous. In the proper discharge of duty, one has to learn to tolerate non-permanent appearances and disappearances of happiness and distress. According to Vedic injunction, listen carefully, one has to take his bath early in the morning, even during the month of Magha, January, February. It is very cold at that time, but in spite of that, a man who abides by the religious principles does not hesitate to take his bath. I remember on traveling Sankirtan, the first Sankirtan vans that Prema Siddhi built for the Sankirtan devotees in the 90s, they didn't have heating and they didn't have warm water. So I remember traveling with one devotee, Taro Vilochan, I think his name was. We were traveling together to different cities and it was so freezing cold, but we had read this in the winter. Somebody who is dutiful, he will not hesitate taking his bath early in the morning. So we had our jerry can and our bucket and our small lota, and then we would carry our bucket outside in the middle of a market in the city, usually on a marketplace, parking, and then we would carry our bucket, and then at the back of the van with our gamsha, completely only gamsha, and then we would, and at 4 o'clock in the morning it was Hare Krsna. You heard the other devotee like Hare Krsna. It was so cold, but we did full bucket shower outside. And I remember this devotee came in the back of the van, shivering and shaking and getting a towel. And then, a few minutes later, I couldn't stay back, so I had to follow the footsteps of this devotee. I stepped outside and I slipped and I fell because it became ice. It was so cold. But Prabhupada says, we have to. Similarly, a woman, I think also men can be there, but a woman does not hesitate to cook in the kitchen in the months of May and June, the hottest part of the summer season. One has to execute his duty in spite of climatic inconveniences. Hare Krsna. Sri Radha Gopinath ki jai. So tolerance, titikshava or ksanti, is very, very important in spiritual life. Happiness and distress. Dukeshu anuvikna manaha, sukeshu vikata spriha. Krishna says a little bit later on in the Gita, if happiness comes, don't become happy. And if unhappiness comes, don't be unhappy. Of course, Krishna speaks about temporary happiness, sensual happiness, lusty happiness. So if it comes, we are not happy. If it doesn't come, we are not unhappy. That is the basic principle of spiritual life, and that is a practice. Therefore, after the Sambandha verse that we are not the body and we change from different bodies in this life and then we take a new body, then the practice is, now you try to teach yourself sober-mindedness in this life by tolerating temporary things in this world. Then the question is, why should I tolerate? What's the benefit? Why should I tolerate? What do I gain? Huh?
If you don't tolerate, there's just hankering and lamenting.
There is only hankering and lamenting.
And also we please Krishna.
Hmm?
If we tolerate, it pleases Krishna.
Yes. Yes, it's a way to, focus on the eternal, on Krishna. So, yeah, we practice tolerating temporary things by focusing on the eternal. But what's the benefit? What's the real... Krishna says it. Yamina vyatayan kete purusha sabha sama dukkha sukham dhiram so amritatvaya kalpate. This is the verse after Matraspashas to continue, which is a kind of prayojan verse. Sambandha verse is Dehino asmin yata dehe. Then the Abhideya verse is Matraspashas to continue, you tolerate. And what is then the result? Yamina vyatayan kete Purusha Shabha, a person who is able, sama dukkha sukham, sama in English you say same, sama Sanskrit is in English same, sama dukkha sukham, I'm completely equipoised in happiness and distress. Dhiram, completely sober, and then it comes, sa amritatvaya kalpate. Kalpate means you become. What do you become? Amrita. You don't die anymore. So if you don't die anymore, you don't take birth anymore, you don't die anymore, you don't have to tolerate death. So if you tolerate in this lifetime happiness and distress, fame and infamy, victory and defeat, all these things, then you attain Amrita. And Amrita, we explained so many times. Amritya means no more death, no more dying. And Amrita also means you will taste nectar. So by tolerating the temporary things in this world, you rise above, and then you will taste nectar in spiritual life. And then the result is, when you are fully absorbed in spiritual nectar, then at the moment of death, you will go to the place where there is only nectar, which is the spiritual world, which is Vaikuntha, and there is no more suffering, no more lamentation, no more hankering. So tolerance is extremely important. In fact, tolerance is one of the 9 symptoms of a Brahmana. Srila Prabhupada mentioned quite a few times that a Vaishnava has automatically all the qualities of a Brahmana. So what are those qualities? Sama, Dhamma, Tapo, Socham, Ksanti, Arjavam, Evava, Jnanam, Vijnanam, Astikyam, Brahma, Karma, Svabhavajam. Brahma, Karma, Svabhavajam. These are the activities, or this is the nature, the Svabhav of a Brahmana. What is the nature of a Brahmana? Sama. Again, Sama means equipoised. We see everything equal in this world. Dhamma. What means Dhamma?
Sense control.
Sense control. Actually, Dhamma, we know one name of Krishna where the word Dhamma is part of. Damodar. Right? So, Udara means the belly, and Dhamma means a rope. So it ties the rope. The rope ties the belly of Krishna. So Dhamma is a rope. What do you do with a rope? You fix something, you tie something up. In other words, we tie our senses up. Dhamma, Udara, Damodar. So don't forget, Dhamma means rope, means control. You tie yourself up. Don't do this in this material world, you know. Get yourself tied up by this rope. So, Sama, equal vision. Dhamma, sense control. You become a controlled person. Don't let your senses be loose. Sama, Dhamma, Tapa. Tapa means austerity. Actually, austerity means that you voluntarily tolerate material inconveniences. That is tapa. How many of you are excited when the alarm bell goes in the morning? The alarm clock. How many of you are really like, oh, I waited the whole night for this moment? No? But we do, right? Many of us, when the alarm clock goes, we immediately fix our minds. Okay, with the intelligence, I have to do this. This is what Prabhupada wants us to do. Rise early, take bath, go and see the deities, perform Mangalarati, chant your japa, worship the Guru. So all these things, in the beginning stages we don't have all the time taste for it, but doing it with the sharpness of the intelligence, understanding that it's important, is also tapaha, is austerity. Prabhupada one time said, just follow the 4 regulated principles and chant 16 rounds is tapa. It's the tapasya of the sadhakas. So, sama, dhamma, tapa, socham. Socham means cleanliness. What is that? Just taking shower? A brahmana takes shower how many times a day? Yeah, I think, Mahendrapu, it's also, according to Vedic regulations, sannyasis, they take so many showers. 3, grihastas, the 2, brahmacharis, only 1. So Mahendrapu, he can take shower once a day, it's okay. I have to take 2, and then sannyasis, they have to take 3 showers a day. So saucham, it's not just bathing the gross body. Saucham is also linked to the subtle body. And what is the subtle body? Mind, intelligence, and false ego. So we have to try to purify the ego, purify the intelligence, purify the mind, and then we can say that we are saucham. Sama, dhamma, tapo, socham. Ksanti. Ksanti is also a word for tolerance. A brahmana is very, very tolerant. Arjavam. Arjavam means honesty, truthful. Jnanam. A brahmana has knowledge, spiritual knowledge. Vijnanam. And he practices that knowledge, and then he realizes that knowledge. It becomes an experienced knowledge. Very important difference between jnana and vijnana. Jnana is, you could say, it's knowledge from the head. I know. Vijnana means I experience. So a brahmana is not only knowing that he is a soul, but he is experiencing actually his eternal nature. And then astikyam, he's also very religious. So these are the 9 qualifications of a brahmana, and one of them is to be tolerant. Also in 3rd canto, if I remember correctly, in the discussion between Kapila Muni and Devahuti, Kapila Muni also describes that to associate with devotees is very important. And what is a devotee? What are the characteristics of a devotee? The first characteristic that Kapila Muni is mentioning is titikshava. Again, titikshava, karunika. So first of all, you have to be very, very tolerant. And karunika means, what means karuna? Huh? Merciful, compassionate. So you have to be tolerant and you have to be compassionate. Srila Prabhupada is mentioning, related to compassion and tolerance, is that in this Krishna consciousness movement, we try to spread Krishna consciousness to others. And in the process of spreading Krishna consciousness to others, we have to practice tolerance. And he gives the example of 3 personalities. What are the 3 personalities that had to tolerate a lot while spreading Krishna consciousness? Who comes to mind? Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur, he didn't want to chant on himself alone, he wanted to spread Krishna consciousness to others. And because he had a Muslim background, then the Muslim ruler didn't like that one of the Muslims became a devotee of Krishna and started to chant loudly the Hare Krishna mantra. So they warned him, he didn't listen. They say, we have to put you in prison, I have to kill you. And he said, even if you separate my soul from my body, I will never stop chanting the holy names of the Lord. So if you want to punish someone and that person says like this, you can even separate my soul from my body, I will never give up chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So this titikshava is very, very important. Haridas Thakur, he got beaten up. Beaten up. How many marketplaces? 22, 21, 22? Can you imagine? You're dragged to 22 different villages. And in the marketplace of those villages, you're just beaten up with a whip. You know? But Haridas Thakur, he could tolerate it. And it's amazing how compassionate he was, because when his tormentors, those who were hitting him in 22 marketplaces, they started to have blisters on their hands. They were also in pain because of beating. And they also became very afraid, because they said, if we don't beat you to death, if you don't die, then this Muslim ruler will kill us for not being able to perform our duty of killing Haridas, you. And then Haridas said, oh really? Oh, I don't want to cause any trouble to you, so I die. So then he so-called left his body, he became completely unconscious, and they threw him into the Ganges. And then he was just in a complete trance, and then he got out of his trance and he climbed out of the water. And then when they understood that he had not died, they were completely amazed. And they became very respectful to Haridas Thakur. So he tolerated. What are the other two personalities that Prabhupada mentioned? Jesus Christ, right. Jesus Christ, Prabhupada used to say in lectures that, the only mistake that Jesus Christ made was that he was spreading God consciousness. And his punishment was, they hang him at the cross and nailed him at the cross. Oh yes, Prahlad, he tolerated also a lot of pain from his own father. He was literally tortured by his own father. So he was not only tolerant, because he was always remembering Krishna, but he was also very compassionate, because at the end, when he could give ask some benedictions from Lord Nrsimhadev, in the beginning we know he was very upset that the Lord asked him for, what do you want as a blessing? But then later on he realized, no, I would like to ask for a blessing, my Lord. Please be kind to my father, bless him. He doesn't know what he's doing. So Jesus Christ, Prahlad Maharaj, and one more. Prabhupada was referring to another personality who tolerated while preaching. He's on the altar. Lord Nityananda. He tried to save Jagai and Madai. And Madai was so cruel that he threw a clay pot at the head of Nityananda Prabhu, and Nityananda Prabhu was bleeding. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he became enraged, and he came with his Sudarshan Chakra, and Nityananda Prabhu, he said, no, I beg you, save him. We did not appear in this age of Kali to kill. That was previous ages. In this age we come to give mercy to the most fallen. So please be merciful to Madai. And then, they received the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So tolerance is very, very essential in our spiritual life. And we need to practice that on a daily basis. Because living in a community means we have to be tolerant. It's not always harmonious and everyone is appreciating us and Everybody is recognizing our wonderful service that we are doing, and everybody is respectful to us. Sometimes it's very difficult. I spoke with one devotee who left Radhadesh some time ago, and he came and we had a talk, and he couldn't handle that some devotees were not gentle, not kind, doing some gossiping behind his back, and he couldn't tolerate it. So he left, and now he feels very good with friends from the past because they were kind and respectful. And so it's painful to hear. But living in a community, sometimes there is also some harshness and some things that we have to tolerate, also in our services. Yesterday I was going to the sun panel area. Before a few weeks ago I didn't even realize that some maintenance was needed in the sun panel area, but there are a lot of bushes that grow, and they grow over the sun panels. So then of course you don't get enough energy anymore because it blocks the sun. So it's a huge project to go there with a machine, with a manual machine, and the bushes are like 2-3 meters high, and then you have to go with a machine to cut the bushes. So I offered help to Rohini Nanda Prabhu because I have holiday. I can do some extra service. So I went there yesterday in the sun, and it was like I was sweating after 3 minutes with this machine, a lot of noise. And then, I put my hand on the motor plate of the machine, and it was hot, so I burned myself. Then the bushes started to pierce me, and then, through my gloves, so I had wounds everywhere, sweating, and was exhausted. I remembered this verse, Matra spashas tu konti, sitoshna sukha dukkha. I was thinking, in the service of Krishna, we have to tolerate. It has to be done. So let me do it and tolerate. And immediately I felt blissful because it was in the service of Krishna. And that's why, actually, that's the reason why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Trinadapi sunichena, taror api sahishnuna, amanina manadena, kirtanaya sadahari. If you want to be steady in your devotional service, in hearing, chanting and serving, then one is, you have to be very humble in Krishna's service. But we also have to be very tolerant in Krishna's service. It doesn't matter what kind of service you are doing in this community, it always has some challenges. Remembering Mother Nikunja Vasini, who is now in a complete samadhi related to her service of sewing for the deities. But do you think that making 6 outfits per year is not an austerity? Every year you have deadlines of making these beautiful outfits that Mother Nikunja Vasini is facilitating, is organizing, is sewing with the help of some other devotees. She's always in that mood of, Krishna needs new dresses. Do you think it's easy to every day go on the altar and do your puja on the altar and change the dress and cook for Krishna? Devotees like Bhakta Pranadhana, he's on holiday now. Is it easy for him to cook every day, I think 6 days a week, 5 or 6 days a week, the Raj Bhoga offering? Yesterday I had the great fortune of offering the Raj Bhoga to Sri Sri Radha Gopinath. And when I entered the kitchen, Krishna Shakti Mataji was cooking. And you see just like 14 or 15 preparations, so many sabji, so many rice, so many sweets and this and that, and every day you have to think about what am I going to cook for the Lord. You think that is easy? Maybe if you do it one day and make really big meditation, but to do it for years. You think you need tolerance? And then you enter the kitchen, hardly any boga. Oh my God, I forgot to do shopping. Now what? What to do? Do you think work in the construction is easy? Every day working for Krishna in the construction, repairing this one, that one. Painting, Vasutama Prabhu painting, and then after everything is done, you come back, somebody hit, with a chair, hit the wall, and there's like a big scar on the wall with some black.
Somebody took the ladder.
Somebody takes the ladder. So, so many reasons to be upset or angry or frustrated. Or like Thibaut working in the permaculture garden, trying to make from one project 10 projects, you know, scratching the head how I'm going to make Radhadesh self-sufficient. What to speak of Robert? Every day you have to milk the cows. You cannot say, well, I don't feel like it today. You know? I don't feel well, so I'm not going to milk the cows. No, you have to milk the cows. You have to clean, you know, the cow dung, which is there, and the urine. And every day you have to do so many things. So any service that we are doing in Krishna's service is requiring some tolerance. Yeah, well, we can go on a restaurant. I have personal experience, I mean, via Govinda Mohini, what it means. If you have to take care of one day 10 guests, another day 400 guests, how are you going to anticipate on that, you know? Leah knows, is also working in the restaurant. Leah, do you need to be tolerant sometimes in the restaurant? I think you have to be tolerant, huh? So yeah, so here, Krishna says, Kim dumarsham titikshunam, he's saying to Jarasandha, what can the tolerant not tolerate? In other words, we're going to ask something from you, but just you're a tolerant person, so you can easily tolerate. And then, Kim nadayam vadanyanam, that's the third line. What means vadanyanam? Anybody knows this vadanyanam? Where does it come from? Mahendra Prabhu? Namo Maha Vadanyaya. So here it says, Vadanyanam, magnanimous, you know, to show you magnanimity. You know. What can a charitable person not give? Can give everything. Reminds me of the story of Maharaj Sibi, son of Yayati Maharaj, I think. Sibi was the son of Yayati. So Sibi was very, very charitable, amazingly charitable personality. He was a king. He was protecting all the citizens, not only the humans. He was also protecting the animals, and very charitable. He was such a pious and powerful king that Lord Indra became worried. My God, if this person dies, he will take over my position, you know. He's really, nobody can be more pious, nor more charitable, more protective than this one. So it's a threat for me now. So he called Agni Dev, the fire god. He said, let's test this Maharaj Sibi. Let's make him fall down. Let's show to the world that he is not such a charitable person. So Agni changed himself into a pigeon. And Indra changed himself into an eagle, a bird of prey. And the pigeon was flying through the kingdom of the king, and the eagle was chasing. So Indra was chasing Agni in the area of Maharaj Sibi's kingdom. And then this pigeon became so afraid that the pigeon landed in the lap, on the lap of the king. Please protect me. So the king saw this pigeon on his lap, and then he saw this eagle bird, and the eagle landed in front of the king, and he says, give me the pigeon, it's my prey. And then the king said, how can I? He asked for protection, so I have to protect. No, but it's my property. I was hunting, and I should get the prey. And then just see the soft heart of Maharaj Sibi. And then he said, well, can I offer you maybe then another animal? Same weight? No? As the pigeon? I will give you another animal. So then the eagle said, no, this one looks very yummy. I want this pigeon. And then he said, well, I cannot, somebody who asks protection, I cannot not protect. I have to protect. So then the eagle said, okay, then I will only agree that you keep the pigeon if you give me the same weight of your own flesh as the weight of the pigeon. Would you do that? Would you give? Vera?
I don't think so.
No? I give you a knife? Same weight as the pigeon? You take your own flesh? No? No charitable? No. Heavy, huh? But he took a knife and he started to cut from his leg or whatever. It's not mentioned, I think, where. But he cut his own flesh. And they had the balance, the weight balance. And then here was the pigeon. And then, and then he had to put flesh till it would be equal. And he was cutting and he was cutting and he was cutting. And it remained like this. He said, how is it possible? I cut half of my body and the pigeon is still lower. So then he was ready to cut his head because he was thinking, I cannot protect pigeons, so I have to take my life. And then I surrender my life to this eagle. And at the moment that he wanted to do that, then Hare Krishna. When he was ready to do that, then Agni changed. The pigeon changed into the demigod Agni, and the eagle changed in the demigod of Indra, and they give all the blessings. Now we know you are really charitable. We tested you. We tested you. It's a nice test, no? You also get sometimes such tests like this, no? Maybe a little less difficult. So, 10th Canto says that we also have to be charitable. What is the charity that we should give to Krishna? Prana, Artha, Diya, Vacha. There are 4 things that we can give to Krishna. And it's in the hierarchy of order, of preference. What should we give to Krishna? Prana. Prana means your life. Give your life to Krishna. That is the highest welfare activity that we can do, is to give our life to God. Prana. And then we say, can I give a little less? Then, okay, you don't give your life, then give artha, you give your wealth. If you cannot give your life, you give your wealth. But for some persons, wealth is same as life. Right? If you're very materialistic, then to get rid of your wealth and give it to Krishna, it's same as giving your life. Without your wealth, who are you? Sometimes people, they get bankrupt and they commit suicide because they were rich, now they lost everything. So prana, give your life. If you cannot give your life, artha. If you cannot give your artha, diya, give your intelligence by, for example, studying Bhagavad Gita. You give the intelligence to Krishna. And if you say, I don't have any intelligence, then vacha, then you give your words. What is the best word that we can say? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So by doing that, there is a 4th line. Kapara Samadarsinam. That's another quality that we have to develop as a devotee. Samadarsinam. We have to see all living entities equally. Krishna has that vision. Samaham sarvabhuteshu name dveshu stinapriya. Krishna says in the 9th chapter of the Gita, like, I'm equal to all living entities. I don't hate anyone, I don't favor anyone. So a devotee has a similar vision. Anyone knows a verse where a highly learned person has equal vision? Vidya vinaya sampane brahmane gava ashtini sunicheva svapakecha pandita samadarshinaha. We have equal vision to all living entities. Of course, this is a very high, that's a very high platform. But all this was what Krishna, Bhima and Arjuna were saying to Jarasandha. You are equipoised, you are very tolerant, Hare Krishna, and you are very charitable, so please, whatever we ask, you do. And the 2nd line in this verse, Kim akaryam asadudi. I was reflecting on it a little bit in the last half an hour, or just before the lecture. Yes, by Krishna's mercy, by Sri Prabhupada's mercy, by experiencing some taste in Krishna consciousness, we can be very tolerant, we can be very charitable, and we can also have an equal vision. But without the mercy of the Vaishnavas, without practicing Krishna consciousness, then the second line is very relevant. Kim akayam asadu di. What does it say? What will the wicked not do? What will the wicked not do? I was reflecting on this. Without Sri Prabhupada coming into our life, I mean, I can speak for myself. What would I have not done? What will the wicked not do? What was I doing before Krishna consciousness? And what would I be doing now? I still have some friends. I see sometimes on Facebook some. I was close friends with a few of my friends before I joined. And to see what they are doing now, it's so degraded. So what would we not have done when we would not come in contact with this knowledge? What will the wicked not do? That's why, when we are not yet on a high level, we follow the 4 regulative principles of no meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, no, what is else? No illicit sex. Because if we want to develop the good qualities, one of the 3 of them are mentioned here in this verse. Then, meat eating, we would have no compassion. Sometimes we focus a little bit too much on not this, not this, not this, not this. You know, when we share Krishna consciousness with other people from outside, instead of saying no meat, no fish, no eggs, you can say we practice compassion. It's very nice, huh? We are practicing compassion, kindness to all living entities. That's part of our practice of God consciousness. And then when they ask, how are you practicing that? Well, for example, we have a vegetarian diet because we don't want to unnecessarily harm any living entities. So similarly, no intoxication means what are we practicing? Yes, austerity, which is the second pillar of religious life, is to become austere, sober. It's very difficult. Even those who do sports, they say that when they drink 1 beer, their whole determination to sport afterwards is gone. It's amazing, huh? Intoxication immediately kills your determination for austerity. So no illicit sex, what do we actually practice? Cleanliness in body and mind. And what is the 4th one? No gambling. So what are we practicing? Speculation.
Mental speculation.
Yeah, no mental speculation. Or actually, what are we saying as positive when we say no gambling? Means honesty, truthfulness. Maybe also another word could be transparency. Be a transparent person, not like this Krishna here, you know, who is having all this kind of schemes, dressing himself as a brahmana and you know, flattering words and you're a tolerant person. What can you not tolerate? You're a charitable person. What can you not give? You are equal-minded to everyone, so you don't see us as enemies, right? So you give whatever we desire. So devotees, they are transparent, very clear in their actions, in their attitude, in their reasons why they do things. There is no scheme. So I think it's a wonderful verse to meditate upon, and as the discussion was yesterday during the questions and answers about can a non-devotee have good qualities? And we quoted this verse, Yashasti Bhakti Bhagavati Akinchana. If we become Akinchana devotees, Akinchana in our bhakti, no motivation, no hidden agenda, pure devotee, pure devotional service, then all the good qualities will automatically appear from within the heart, within the soul, will manifest all the good qualities automatically. And harav abhaktasya kuto mahat guna. If you're not a devotee, then kutaha, where are the good qualities? Why? Mano ratenasati bhavato bahi. Because you are traveling on the vehicle of the mind. So is the mind steady or is he unsteady? Most of us have a very unsteady mind. So if you travel on the vehicle of the mind, then sometimes you show good qualities and sometimes you show your cruelness. But if you're a devotee, you act on the soul level, and the soul has steady qualities all the time. So if you practice akinchana bhakti without any motivation, then all the good qualities will manifest from within the heart. And they are steady, and they are permanent, and they will not waver. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much you can say, huh?
And actually, Prabhu, your last point, the circle is round. Your last point is referring to your first point, explaining the Matras Prasas to Kantiya verse, which you nicely analyzed. And I was surprised that you didn't translate the first word, Matras Prasas, which actually means they arise from sense perception. So the duality is only perceived when you're on the bodily, mentally platform. When you transcend that, there's no duality.
There's no more duality. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I was also thinking of one verse that when you are able to control your senses and you give up raga and dvesha. Raga, dvesha, vimukta is two. Raga means your attachments and dvesha means your aversions. If you're able to give them up, then prasadam adigacchati. It's prasadam time, right? Prasadam adigacchati. You will get the mercy of the Lord. If you're able to tolerate the sense pushes of the senses, then you will get the mercy of the Lord. And then, in the verse after, it starts with prasad. Prasade sarva dukanam hani. It's also such a nice combination that if you do this, this, and this, and this, you get the mercy of the Lord. When you get the mercy of the Lord, prasade sarva dukanam. All miseries in life, hani, are destroyed. So then, if all miseries in life are destroyed, do you still need to tolerate? There's no more need to tolerate because you're immersed in spiritual happiness. So then, if you're there in your consciousness and you experience happiness there, then the things that happen here are not affecting you anymore. Like Raghunath Das Goswami, we always glorify Raghunath Das Goswami as an extreme renunciate. But he was not renounced. Right? Why not? Raghunath Das Goswami was not renounced. Well, they had to call a doctor because he didn't feel well. And then the doctor said he has indigestion because he ate too much sweet rice. But he didn't eat sweet rice, but he ate sweet rice in the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. He was absorbed in Gupta Vrindavan, he was absorbed in the hidden Vrindavan. And there he was feasting. So when you're feasting all the time, then in the material plane you're renunciate, no more interest. And that's why the goal of our Krishna consciousness movement is not to become renounced. The goal is to become Krishna conscious. Because when we are Krishna conscious, then we are automatically renounced, we are automatically tolerant, we are automatically humble, so we focus on the positive process of Krishna consciousness, and all the rest will come automatically. I'm reading Uddhava Gita with commentaries of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and there it says, if a non-devotee tries to control the tongue, it will be a disaster because the tongue will become even more ferocious and you start to hanker even more for those tastes that you are wanting to give up. So it will explode. So it's not the goal to become renunciates. The goal is to become attached to the practice of Krishna consciousness. And then we don't need to tolerate anymore anything. Any other question or comment? Or the word prasadam triggered something in all of you. Malati.
Hare Krishna. I was thinking about tolerating, and sometimes it's being misunderstood if we have some physical problem, like body problem, that we think, oh, we need to tolerate it. It's not like in Srila Prabhupada, he interrupted his Guru Puja when he saw a devotee had a problem with his feelings. You have to be careful.
Yes. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he actually criticized Sanatana Goswami who wanted to give up his body. He said, "This is not your body. How impolite that you, something that is not your property, you want to destroy. Is that a good proposal? That if it's not your property that you destroy, then you're a thief." So if we see that the body is not your property, it's Krishna's property, and you can use it for his service, then you take care of it. Therefore, devotees, they have a complete different perspective of spiritual life than, for example, New Agers or gross materialists. It's complete different. We just see everything as Krishna's property, and we use it in his service, and then that's Yukta Vairagya. Yes. Yes, a very, very good point that you're saying. And actually the word ksanti means tolerance, but ksanti also means forgiveness. So if you need to tolerate the behavior of another person, like Haridas Thakur, he not just tolerated the beating, but simultaneously he forgave the person who caused the inconvenience. So I could, maybe it's speculation, and Mahendra Prabhu or Vasudha Prabhu can correct me, but I would say tolerance is more a cold, I tolerate, I can tolerate. Yes, I'm going in cold shower, I just tolerate. Or this person is nasty to me, I tolerate. But for me, the translation of forgiveness is much warmer. I'm not just tolerating, you're just doing your role to get my karma, So you're an instrument of Krishna, and because of my disobedience, I'm punished by the laws of nature, and you are the instrument. So you follow Krishna's plan. And I'm disobedient, so therefore I need punishment. So thank you very much. Of course, a high level of consciousness. And after forgiving comes real giving. So first tolerating, then you forgive, and before giving, before you can give, you forgive. Because how can you give some, like for example, if you quarrel with a devotee and you really think there's a devotee really making my life miserable, and then you're serving prasadam and that person comes in the queue and you think, I'm not going to give. I'm not going to give. No, but if you forgive, then you can again give, right? So tolerating, then forgiving, then you start to be able to give. Or is this speculation? Sometimes it's nice to reflect and meditate, and maybe sometimes we are wrong, and then devotees correct us and say, yes, this was speculation, I'm sorry.
Tolerating is one thing, but if you forgive, it's much more developed than just tolerating.
Yeah.
I can tolerate, but with a big grudge, okay, I can tolerate. If you forgive, you let go, and you can continue. You don't carry a backpack for the rest of your life. He did it, forgiving is,
Prabhupada uses both words. If you read Ksanti, Prabhupada sometimes says tolerating, sometimes he says forgiving. Like in the 9 symptoms of somebody who has Anubhav, almost on the Bhav platform. The first one is Ksanti. Ksantir avyakta kalatvam. First one is you forgive. That is how a person with Anubhav, the first symptom is that person is very easy in forgiving. And the second one is that person doesn't waste any time. He uses all his time in Krishna's service. Anyway, we can have a whole discussion on the 9 Anubhavs. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Mm.